been a lot of companies that have started making these utility blade holders and carriers that are styled after like regular EDC knives or the higher quality levels of production. And so the question I had was, can I really replace my EDC knife with this? So I did a bunch of testing and we're going to talk about it. So let's turn this around and we'll take a look at that from above.
All right, guys, I've been thinking about how I wanted to do this for a while. I knew I wanted to do this video. There have been a lot of companies that have released these box cutter knives, utility knife carriers, like this new Knives Companter version that they did through Kickstarter. And I've been curious, how does it stack up against an actual EDC knife? And would I honestly look at replacing an EDC pocket knife with a box cutter? Now, I'll tell you, I used this one. I had originally thought I was just going to use a box cutter because, you know, why not? But then I was like, that's not the point. This is the point of these. But I have to say, this doesn't deviate much from this, but what it does is it bridges the gap between this and this. So this is kind of a middle ground. Now, I'll tell you, they both have some definite pros and cons. I will tell you that if you love these, I'm on board with that. I love anything that brings more people to the knife hobby, and I love anything that gets people something that they can carry in situations where typically it would be frowned on. Now, one of the biggest pros, we'll look at some of the pros of this, and then we'll look at the cons versus the knife. This might not be accepted at a lot of workplaces. I do have friends that are told they cannot carry a pocket knife. They're allowed to carry a utility knife, but they can't carry a pocket knife. This is something that you could make the case and say, hey, boss, this is a utility knife. It uses these blades. It uses the same blades as the utility knife you want me to carry, but this is just a little bit better for me. And a lot of times I think your boss can be like, all right, Billy, I agree. So the nice thing about it is when you look at some of these box cutters, this is heavy. It does have a pocket clip, but it's very heavy. This is a much thinner, much slimmer profile, and it's in a form factor that most people are going to know. The other thing, these blades that you put in these utility knives now this is a used blade. This is one of the ones I did for the cut test that you're going to see. I'm doing some cut testing. You can see it right here. I cut a lot of cardboard with both of these knives. I tried to keep it even. I tried to keep it fair. I tried to keep the number of cuts per blade the same from each one back and forth to see how they did. And if I had thicker, heavier cardboard, I definitely made sure that I split the amount of it between the two knives. Now, what you saw was not all of the cutting I did. That was just a very sped up cut test. And I did find that this does incredibly well for some tasks. Now I split it between. So what this does really well and why it does it so well is this is extremely thin and the blades do come very sharp out of box. They're easy to change. It's a simple matter of removing the screw. I'll change out the blade for you on this because it does need a new blade. It's kind of dull. So you just simply put that in, take that out, you lift up and you pull out on the blade. You grab the new blade here, you drop it in like that. And then you just drop that in and then you just put your screw back in. And so now for all intents and purposes, I completed what would take several minutes for me to touch up the edge on this just by dropping in a new blade. You can flip them. This screams through cardboard as if it was designed to do so. Well, because it kind of is. You can get right up on this and you can get down on top of a board, which you didn't see any of the cutting like that. I could scream through cardboard so well with this because that's what this is meant to do. It's to cut down on that, and it did way better at that than this knife did. So there's some pros. The other pro, you can flip this. So this knife, basically you're using that much of the blade, you flip this and you can use that part of the blade on the other end. It's like having two sharpenings built into it. So, and you can always just carry a box of these. The other pro knives, this knife is $140. You can get these fairly affordably, these carriers. And when you look at it, these blades for 100 pieces are $10 for these SK5. This is the Work Pro brand that they have on Amazon. They're like 10 bucks. Is that what it was? Work Pro? Yeah, Work Pro brand. They're like 10 bucks for 100 of them on Amazon. And so just the factor that you're getting something that you can use in certain scenarios, and the fact is you don't have to stop and sharpen If you've got a knife in your pocket and you're relying on it, you don't have to stop and sharpen. You don't have to carry a sharpening stone. You simply just have a box of these, maybe in your lunchbox or whatever, in your desk drawer, and you just swap out the blades. And like I said, it's easy and it's simple. And this is very, very comfortable to cut with, to bear down on like this and cut through stuff. This did not do so well, especially at the bearing down. It was much harder to get a good grip on. The shape of the blade did not lend itself to doing the on the board cutting like this did. And this, you've got a lot more to deal with, and you're going to have to reach up further onto the blade, where on this, you're definitely in a safe area while you're doing that. So this definitely has its points where it beats this knife. I will say, however, that for me, I think that this will always win because there's a lot of things I just can't do with this knife. And I'll show you some of the downsides to this where this knife excels. This is all cutting surface. So on this, you've got so much more cutting surface. Even though on this, you've got, what am I looking at? I'm looking at two inches-ish of blade. Of that 2 inches of blade, I really can't use all 2 inches because the fact is, for something like sharpening a pencil and stuff like that, I did do some of those things. This absolutely works because you can cut all the way back here and you're just cutting a piece of pencil. If you're cutting some line, it works great for that. But if you're trying to do a lot of cutting, like EDC cutting, you're basically limited because where this housing is, where this frame is, even though there's a lot more blade exposed than say on this utility knife, you're really not getting much more in the way of usable blade length than what you have here. Because of the way they attach, you have to have this housing. And if you look, the way they attach is at these two little points. So that means that you can't use all of that blade. You're using pretty much that much of the blade, which definitely limits you for a lot of things. So if you're used to cutting your cardboard up and you're using this whole knife, this definitely gave me more usable cutting surface, definitely a better experience cutting cardboard that wasn't on a board. Next thing, in the course of the cutting that I did, because like I said, I didn't film all of it, I never had to sharpen this knife and still have not sharpened it. This knife is done exceedingly well. And I picked this knife specifically because of the price point, because it's only $140. And the fact it's one of the better performing blades I had. It's in S35 VN steel. And the edge that it was on this has held up incredibly well. In comparison, this knife, I wound up going through 3 of these blades, and then you can kind of see this one's all kind of jacked up. This was the last one. So technically 4, now that I've swapped that out. I went through 4 blades on this in the time that I used this and did not have to sharpen it. So it's not so much that it's not going to be a longer performer. These blades are not high quality. But people are going to say, oh, well, you can get higher quality blades. Well, then that kind of detracts from the cost savings that people are saying they get. So the other things that I did notice. So when I am doing some bearing down cutting, if I was doing standing up, and I was like what you guys saw me doing, standing up and cutting through cardboard this way, this knife and most of the EDC knives I had, I'm having problems with my camera. Hang on a second, guys. Let me restart this. I'm having focus problems. All right. Played around with the autofocus for a little bit. What I was saying is, when I was standing up to cut, I'm cutting like this, and I've got a very comfortable platform for this. These aren't near as comfortable. There's that sharp spot there, and if you do get all the way up on it like this, it's a very, very thin thing. It's not anywhere near as comfortable to cut this way with as it is this way, which is pretty much what this was designed for. Next thing, there are so many things I can't do with this knife that I can with this. There are very, very limited needs for this knife that this will fit the needs of this knife and still meet all the other needs that I have. I can't use this for, like, if I'm cutting up food and things like that. It just does not work because of the way it's built. You're trying to cut through food, you get stuff gummed up on there. It's just a mess. I did try it. This, I can do that. If I need to do like some small food prep, say you're at your office and you've got a salad and you're wanting to cut up a tomato, you can cut this. You can use this to slice up tomato in your lunchbox and things like that. And overall comfort and ease of use, I find this to be a little bit better. The fact also is There's some dexterity things that I've experienced recently that would mean that changing these blades, even though it is very simple, you saw me do it, there are times where this hand just does not work the way I want it to. And I run into problems with that. And then just like I said, just the overall limitations of that, I think makes this better. Now, there are going to be some situations where you would want this and only this, especially, like I said, if you work somewhere and all you're doing is just cutting out or cutting off material as you need to, say you're doing scoring drywall, things like that. This is great. This would probably be for somebody that's doing drywall and scoring drywall all day for cutting and things like that. This might be the best possible scenario if they can justify replacing a $10 Husky version with this significantly more expensive. I think these are $45. And I will say that there is one thing that this does actually have over this or this. This one, you got to carry all of this around with you somewhere. Most of these ones like this have got storage for extra blades somewhere. As you can see, there are 4 or 5 blades in there. I can't see in the camera. It looks like 4 blades that are stored in the handle of this one. So if you're doing drywall, this might be the one you want, because I got news for you. 1 blade is not going to get you for drywall. So with that being said, these are fun. I am so glad that companies have started doing this, because it does bring a new aspect to the knife world. It allows people to have more access to knives and situations that I might not. So with that being said, that's all I've got on this one. I'm not saying that you can't replace your EDC knife with this. I'm just saying I don't think I could completely, but I do love these. So that's it, guys. Let's turn this around, do some final thoughts, and send you out about your day.
So guys, I don't think I could replace my EDC knife with this, but these things are great. And like I said, there are a lot of reasons that you would be able to carry one of these when you couldn't carry something else. Like I said, specifically, you could probably convince your boss, like, I don't want that one. I don't want that Husky. It takes up too much space. It's a hindrance, or it could be an obstruction. I could get myself hurt because I get caught on something. This is a better choice for me. So, and I mean, technically you've still got a utility knife, not a regular knife. So, there's a lot of plus and minus on anything. So these things do work great for specific things, like if you're just cutting like on top of a piece of wood, or like I said, drywall installing. They're perfect for stuff like that. So guys, that's it on this one. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down, but tell me why. I did not throw an ad in this video, but I do have sponsors: Coffee Brand Coffee, Dull-Strung Knives, Tempered Trail, Coffee Brand Coffee have a discount built into their links, but you can also use coupon code CrazySharp. And right now, through the end of December, over at Beyond EDC, I'll put a link to that down below, you can save 40% at checkout with that same coupon code CrazySharp, all one word, lowercase. You can also use it at Farron Forge Knife Works and Rosecraft Blades. I have got, like I said, the sponsors, but I have got a ton of affiliate links down below with most of the vendors you're going to go for knives with: Blade HQ, GP Knives, Knife Ship Free, a bunch of different other ones down there. I have got an Amazon store that's down below. Take that link, pin it to your browser, use it for any of the Amazon shopping you can do. Join the public Discord that's down below. I've put a link to that as well. And you can also join my membership. It's all tier-based. 3 different tiers. Everyone has access to the private Discord. Everyone has access to exclusive content. Baseline and premium guys get entered into giveaways automatically. And the premium guys have access to the sharpening tutorial series here on YouTube behind the paywall. Guys, that's it on this one. I love you all. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I will see you guys in the next video. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I love all of you.